Good day. I am Father Mike Ignashuk, pastor of St. John Paul II Parish on the south side of Milwaukee, and I would like to welcome all our parishioners and our guests and visitors to this weekly video reflection. I also want to thank Father Esteban for taping the reflections for the past 2 weeks while I had some time away from the parish. Before I begin this reflection, I want to make an announcement. I want to encourage those who are well, who do not fall into one of the high-risk categories, to consider joining us at Mass. We are taking every precaution to make the churches within our parish safe for those who attend. Masks are required and hand sanitizer is readily available. We have cordoned off pews so that families can be seated at the required safe distance of 6 feet from one another. The churches are sanitized after every Mass so that we can keep you safe. The Archbishop has extended his dispensation from the obligation to attend Mass until September 6th. But even before that time, I want to encourage you to try to attend the Mass. I assure you that we are doing well, doing all we can to keep you safe. My reflection for this week is based on the Gospel reading for Wednesday of the 20th week of Ordinary Time. In this Gospel, Jesus tells us a parable about a landowner who had a large farm, and according to the custom of the day, would go out each morning to hire day laborers to work in his field. Jesus tells us how the owner went out at dawn, at 9, at noon, 3, and 5 o'clock, and each time sent more workers into the field, agreeing to pay them the usual daily wage. At the end of the day, he tells his manager to pay the last group first, and they receive a full day's pay. Working backward through the groups, each group received the same. Finally, those who worked since dawn thought that they would receive more, but they received the same pay as the first group to be paid, a daily wage. This story offends our sense of justice. We are used to hourly wages being paid, or to working on commission so that the more you work, the more you produce, the more you earn. But that is not the case here. In this story, the landowner, whom we readily identify with God, offers the workers a daily wage. This was enough to live on and support your family for one day. It was a daily contract. If you work for me today, I'll make sure you have enough to survive for today. That was the normal arrangement. This seems strange to us with our system of labor laws and minimum wages and unions. With this in mind, we can read the parable differently. Instead of being unfair, the landowner becomes generous. He wants all of his workers, those who worked all day and those who worked only an hour, to survive. He gives them all what they need. The parable speaks more about God's generous love for us and how he will give us what we need day by day than it does about labor laws or hourly wages. The last line of the parable, when the landowner responds to the complaints, says it all. Are you envious because I am generous? This story should lead us to reflect on our own dependence on God day by day. There is nothing wrong with our system of justice or labor laws, but in the end, each day comes down to whether we have relied on God for that day. We may earn our own wage and put food on the table for our families, but our survival ultimately rests on God's gracious gift, which is always generous and enough for us to live on. In these extended days of the pandemic, all the patterns of our lives are being tested and stretched. We are all under stress and find ourselves wondering, how long? It is in the face of these challenges that we should hear the message of this parable. God will give us what we need to survive today. Each day, day by day, God will provide for us. That is all we can ask for, the strength to live today faithfully, whether we find ourselves at work or at home, alone or amid family that sometimes have been too close for too long. God will give each of us what we need for it today. We are more than hired workers or day laborers. We are God's sons and daughters chosen in Christ. No matter the challenges of a day, God gives us what we need to face those challenges. God will see us through this pandemic. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and know that we are truly blessed. I remain your pastor, Father Mike.